And it's really interesting because I read something lately, and I grew up LDS and I love the LDS community, but this is the danger of trusting a prophet or the Pope or any human above God, because we have the gift of the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit has the infinite knowledge of God, which is something that no Pope, no prophet has. And I read an article of a Seventh-day Adventist that wrote a letter to one of the Mormon prophets that is now deceased, and went on this long thing talking about how the Sabbath was changed. And it's not my approach. I would have pointed out how Jesus kept the Sabbath, because Jesus is the way, and it's easier to defy like a textbook reading of the Bible than it is to defy, no, Jesus did do that. And am I going to choose Jesus, or am I going to choose the doctrine of my church? Because who am I supportive of my church doctrine, or am I really in love with Jesus, right? But anyways, wrote this long list of the Sabbath and how the Sabbath wasn't changed, and then sent it off. And then the prophet sent back a kind response, but was very vague and just kind of dodged the question, right? So he wrote him again and was like, no. This is an important question. It has to do with Jesus. It has to do with everything. And so then they wrote back and said, there's a vision that Joseph Smith recorded where Jesus and God came and visited Joseph Smith, and it's in Doctrine and Covenants. And basically they said they came and visited Joseph Smith and told him that God changed, that the Sabbath was changed, right? So they believe that the vision of Joseph Smith over the Bible. And that's okay. A lot of people don't fully understand the Bible, which is why I think it's so important to point to Jesus, because most Christians can come to an agreement when looking at Jesus, right? Or at least have to really question themselves. The Bible, there's a lot of different opinions, but you can't really refute Jesus. But anyways, and Ellen said that that's how you're going to be able to tell. And the thing is false. I really believe that fallen angels come and visit people and pretend to be aliens, or they pretend to be an angel, or they pretend to be God, or they pretend to be Jesus, right? They come and look like it. They can impersonate him. And then fallen angels want to be God because they believe the three lies. They're narcissistic. They want your worship. But you look at the angel in John that was like, don't worship me, worship God, because he's holy. Holy beings understand, don't worship me. You need to worship God. He's infinite. He can make you bigger. I can't. You don't worship me. So Satan and his angels, Satan has his own law, and it's godless. And he's trying to reinvent God's law and bring his own government, which is based on fear and force and coercion and godlessness. And God's law is based on selflessness and love and truth, right? So you can kind of tell those things, and you look throughout the Roman Catholic system, and why is the Roman Catholic papal system, sometimes, especially if you're a Catholic and you're watching this, is probably somewhat annoying to hear, them point to the Roman Catholic system. But the Roman Catholic system in the Dark Ages persecuted Christians, and that system was dark because they had the power of church and state. And you look at Satan, and he always accomplished his biggest, cruelest fates when he had full power of church and state, and he brought his own government, his own version of what he wants the government to be, which is, if you look at it, it is cruel and narcissistic, and it is selfish, and you can see it in any monarchy and what's it called? What's China? What system do they have? Communism and Marxism and authoritarianism, all those things where the state becomes God and people serve the state instead of God. And that's where this godlessness is going to lead to. It's going to go from the godlessness of the liberalism and then get pushed over to authoritarianism, where the state becomes God and you worship the state or you die. It's how Satan works. And so, but I just think it's really important when we start to look at it from Satan and see what he's doing. It's so much easier to see how he comes and deceives people into believing that he's holy, into believing that he's God. There's like there's so much in the LDS doctrine, and I don't like bringing this up because I don't like going against the church that I was raised in, but I picked up the Book of Mormon, and the Pearl of Great Price is basically the book of Genesis with extra. And if you read it, you can see the three lies. Ye shall be as God, or you shall not surely die. Ye shall be as God. Believe this extra knowledge from the Bible, and you can be as God. You can have your own world. You can be God. Like, it's part of the doctrine. You see it in the Catholic Church. You see it throughout Christianity. The soul is immortal. Ye shall not surely die. You can, you know, you can live in sin and still find salvation. Like, these are lies, and there is what Satan is using to try to deceive us so that we don't have the Holy Spirit in our life. We don't trust God every day, and we go and get swept away with the system.